We're looking at the aims of the Institute of Divine Metaphysical Research. There are three that I want to make direct comparison to the Theosophical Society. That's the first three. But the fourth one is an added one. And later, the IDMR expanded this to be 10 primary aims of the school. So, the first one is to form a nucleus of universal brotherhood of humanity without distinction of race, creed, sex, caste, or color. Now let's look at these are the three objects of the Theosophical Society, which was formed in the late 1800s, 1895, by H.P. Blavatsky, Helena Blavatsky. The first aim and objective they have here is to form a nucleus of universal brotherhood of humanity without distinction of race, creed, sex, caste, or color. Let's go back to this IDMR one. First, to form a nucleus of universal brotherhood of humanity without distinction of race, creed, sex, caste, or color. So you see the two are identical. Okay. Now let's look at the second one of the IDMR. To encourage and promote the study of the scriptures, comparative religions, philosophy, and science. Now let's look at the Theosophical Society's second aim. To encourage the comparative study of religion, philosophy, and science. So they did not have scripture. This has to encourage and promote the study of the scriptures. And the Theosophical Society says to encourage the comparative study of religion, philosophy, and science. So they still have comparative religions, philosophy, and science, but apparently Dr. Kinley, H.C. Kinley, added the study of the scriptures. Makes sense. Okay, so now let's look at the third aim of the IDMR, to investigate the unexplained law of nature and the powers latent in man. Now let's go over to the Theosophical Society's third aim. It says to investigate the unexplained laws of nature and the powers latent in humanity. So the difference here is the word humanity is just shortened to powers latent in man instead of the powers latent in humanity. Very similar meaning. It's quite apparent that Henry C. Kinley, who they said was a bibliomaniac, I had a tape recording of him, explaining that. He said, I've been classified as a bibliomaniac. He said he read, every kind of book he could get his hands on about religion and many, many subjects. But he most likely had read this material of the Theosophical Society. I don't know how else he could have came up with the wording to be exact the way that is, other than he had read that. There are some other things that he had read, and he didn't hide his sources, of course, when he put out the textbook there. They call it the Elohim book. Some people call it the Elohim book. But we out locally in Detroit branch, we called it the textbook. And he has in there the bibliography and gives credits to things that he borrowed from other books and authors and things like that. So I think they're great aims. They make a lot of sense. But they weren't something that he originated. I think he probably put them to better use from what I've studied of the two different studies, and that is the Theosophical Society, and then there's the, of course, Institute of Divine Metaphysical Research, which is why I even bothered to know that the Theosophical Society had the same aims. But I had actually stumbled upon it because I was interested in the Theosophical Society, not even knowing that these aims were the same as our ones in the IDMR. I had actually started reading about it, Theosophical Society, because I had seen a video on the Third Reich and with the Nazis and all that stuff. And they explained that there was a fascination with the occultism around the turn of the century and in Europe. So this is why they had the swastika, which is, by the way, a Hindu symbol. And there's a lot of stuff you can learn about that, but they were really into the occult stuff, and so I was just interested. We were encouraged to, like one of these aims says here, the second one, comparative study of religion. So just wanted to share that. I'd like feedback from anybody who has anything to say about this, or can further tell me what they know about, the founder's study, the founder of the IDMR, what he studied and what he talked about that he studied.